I'm Audrey, and on a lovely day like this I would normally be found in the open water somewhere, but instead I'm doing this to hopefully pass on some passion for other people to do some swimming in the open water. I started swimming many years ago as a young child in the pool, doing competitive swimming and time trials, and then exams, O levels and A levels took over and swimming disappeared. Still did it on holidays and things, but not really with any great interest. And then joined gyms in my 30s and really wasn't enamoured with the gym pools. They're quite small, very busy. So then I discovered through work colleague that there was something called the Great North Swim, and I entered that in 2012 in full wetsuit, flippers, double hat, you name it, I wore it, and within 500 metres I was panicking, flapping around, couldn't breathe, hated it, didn't know what the hell I'd set myself up for, but I completed it, and by the time I came out I'd fallen in love with open swimming. So I went back the following year, did it again, bit less neoprene, and then it's all about, like everything in life, it's challenging yourself. So mine was challenging my swimming. Where was I going to go from there? So I went from doing 1 mile to 2 miles, then I did 5k, and then I thought, I wonder if I can do a 10k, did a 10k. And then I think as you get more into doing these things, you talk to more people, you find out about groups and things, and then I found Mallows on Facebook and discovered sea swimming. And so then you talk to people whose passion is sea swimming, and then I discovered about swimming the channel. So I then did a channel relay, and I'm now doing the Journey to France solo, and I've got another channel relay booked for next year. But during all this, we kind of think we're a little bit invincible perhaps, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of succeeding. If you don't set a goal, you don't know whether you're going to succeed or not, and it's no bad thing to not succeed at something, because you learn from that and you move on and you take your lessons and you adapt them to the next thing on the agenda. And I was probably at my best in about 2017, 2018. I got rid of the wetsuit. I was swimming just in a swimming costume, winter and summer, and was wondering what my next challenges were going to be. And in 2019 I was diagnosed with highly invasive cancer, and all my challenges for that year were wiped out within 5 minutes of diagnosis. It brings you up short, it brings your own mortality home to you, it brings a different perspective on life. 5 years later, A, I'm still here, B, I'm clear, and C, I've done some of the challenges that I had to give up in 2019 and 2020. I'm different, definitely, but the open water has been a healing part of this process, because initially, during COVID, when we were all stuck at home, I had a little swimming pool in my back garden, and at that time I actually couldn't lift my right arm, I couldn't hold a cup, I couldn't lift a kettle, I couldn't drive, I couldn't empty a dishwasher, I couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and I got in my little pool in the back garden attached to a bungee strap to a tree, and I paddled away doing breaststroke for hours on end, and that was my physio, it was my mental rehab, and it got my strength back. And by the following year I was front crawling again, and I could lift a cup, I could lift a kettle, I could drive. Unfortunately other things happened. I then had a knee replacement, which then set me back again, but hey ho, off we go again. And again in the water, the rehab, being able to spend time in the water in a safe environment and let the water take my strain and pain away and do my exercises in the water was a great healing process. It made me feel part of my community again and got me back doing what I love in a safe manner. So now I have one or two challenges left. I'm hopefully swimming Jersey to France in about 8 weeks' time, which will be firstly my longest swim and secondly my most challenging swim. And then I've got a channel relay next year, 2 women crossing the channel, 2 hours each till we get to France, hopefully. And then after that, I'm going to be 64 and I'm done. I will just be swimming to enjoy it and support others. I've done some feed support on some long swims. I've seen it from different perspectives, and I also guide blind swimmers in and around the Lake District. So it's a way of giving back my passion to other people who find it difficult to enjoy their passion because of their limitations and their friendships and their support network. Maybe they don't have swimmers that will get in the water with them, can't swim, don't feel confident. So I've done tethered swimming, I've done guided swimming, I've done kayaking with them. The only thing I can't do really is the caving and the cycling. One of my best experiences with them was going in the water in the river just above Ambleside at the rugby club and being swooshed down this river with overhanging branches, not only being in charge of myself but being in charge of somebody who can't see, who might crash into these things and being responsible for them, and then swooshing round the corner where the cows come down onto the bank to the water to drink, and we're all paddling around breaststroking at this point, and to be able to describe to them what I can see that they can't, and to give them hopefully a mental image of what's going on is invaluable, because all you can see as the swimmer is to see the smiles on their faces and their eyes light up and their eyebrows, just facial expressions of enjoyment, and then you form a very good bond very quickly with these people. Some of whom I've met several times because I've guided several times on these things now. So they become old friends, if you like, and it's quite amazing how quickly these friendships develop. And I'm in absolute awe of these people. They get on the train by themselves, they get themselves around. They don't all have guide dogs, they don't all use sticks. One of the first ones I was paired up with was a triathlete, which I panicked about because there's no way I'm triathlon orientated at all, but we were perfectly matched speed wise. It's a fantastic experience both for me and for them, and to enable them to do something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And I think that's the one thing that the open water has brought more since 2019 to me, has been a spirit of friendship, inclusiveness. Made many good friends firstly through Mallows, and secondly the wider swimming community. Nobody cares what you look like, nobody cares what your swimming's like, nobody cares whether you wear a wetsuit, whether you don't, whether you turn up in some 1940s swimsuit or you've got the latest high-tech gear. Nobody cares. You're all there to enjoy it and help one another to enjoy it and to share your love of that sport with other people. I swim quite a lot at Cape and Ray, which is a flooded dive quarry just not far from here. And I was in the changing room with a friend of mine from work who's also an open swimmer. We were just chatting, getting changed, and she was talking about my upcoming trip to Italy swimming. And this person, the other side of the changing room, butts in and starts, "Oh, you're going to Italy?" I said, "Yes, I'm going to Italy." And she then said who she was. "Oh, I've been emailing you." So again, through a swimming community and a swimming holiday company, I'd found yet another friend who is now 7 years down the line, a very close friend. And we've been on many swimming holidays together. And then again, through that, I've come to swim at Morecambe, and I've met a great friend there who I call her the mermaid, because she just lives in the sea all year round. Emma and I swim together quite often at Morecambe, come well, she'll come in rain, hail or shine. I'm a little bit more choosy about how rough the waves are, whether I'll go in or not. We swim there all year round, basically. She also swims at Cape and Ray as well, but not as much. I've also been introduced to river swimming through her, and have found that to be absolutely lovely. It's delightful. And this has now resulted in, because Emma's done a channel relay for charity, the year after I think it was that I did my channel relay for charity, and she always says to me, you were my inspiration for doing the channel. So we have now ended up signing ourselves up to do a channel relay between us. So we're doing a 2-woman relay, which is 2 hours in the water, 2 hours on the boat, rotating until we get to France. Somewhere in the region of probably 16, 18, 20 hours at a rough guess. It's going to be a long, hard slog. But the beauty of doing it as a relay, you might think, well, why don't you go and do it as a solo? Doing it as a solo is an incredible achievement, but it is a solo. It's very personal. Doing it as a relay, 2 of you, you're both reliant upon each other, you're both supporting each other, you've got a sense of camaraderie, and you've got somebody to share that achievement with when you get to the other end, because you've both put a lot of work and effort into that. And although Emma is considerably younger than me, I do realise at my age the chances for me being able to attempt a solo are probably very, well, I can attempt it, but getting to France is probably quite not on the cards really. So doing it as a 2-woman relay is going to give us both the best chance of getting there and achieving it. And as I say, the best part of it is the camaraderie and the sharing it. And we're going to have our gripes together, we're going to have our moans together, we're going to have our high spots together. And that's priceless. Swimming for me has always been my love. I've always had a thing with the open water, especially latterly as I've got older. And I suppose that's also families older, so your commitments are different, they change. I can be more, inverted commas, selfish and put myself first for these sorts of things. And back when I was doing 1 mile, 2 miles, 5k, it was a question of, can I do that? What's the next step? Can I do that next one? And no matter what it is, whether it's swimming, running, cycling, walking, it doesn't matter what it is, you set yourself a challenge. There's always that question, can I achieve it? But you'll never know if you don't try. And failure is an option, as is success. But if you fail, it's not a failure. You attempted it, which might be a question of whatever it is you've attempted. Somebody else wouldn't even dream of doing that. So you've got to look upon it as a positive, and you take things away from it and you learn for next time. You maybe do it in a slightly different area, you do it in a slightly different time of the year, you do it with a different crew, with a different feed, with a different... And these are all the sorts of things that go through your head when you're doing a long swim. So my longest has been 11 miles so far. And people ask me, what do you think about when you're swimming that length of time? How on earth do you keep sane in the water? And the easy answer is you don't. For the first hour, you're questioning what on earth you're doing in the water. Why am I doing this? What on earth's put me here? Then the second, for me this is, for the second hour, I've kind of settled into a stroke and into a breathing pattern and into a bit of a routine. And if it's daylight, I'm looking at the scenery, I'm looking to see where I am, making sure I can still see the boat, that I haven't gone off course somewhere, watching the wildlife. I get fed every hour, so I get a little drink every hour and a bit of interaction with somebody on the boat for all of about 30 seconds. But you know, that's very important, so you're not alone. When I get to hour 3 and hour 4, that's, for me, is where the mental gremlins settle in. So that's the time where your head starts telling you you're an idiot, you should be getting out the water, what are you doing here? You could be sitting on the bank having a pint and a pie and enjoying yourself. What are you doing in this water? Now you've got a headache. And how do you get over that? Well, you've set yourself a task to do. You've set yourself to swim whatever length it is or whatever distance it is or whatever time it is. And if you get out, you've made that decision to get out. And some days that's the right decision and some days that isn't the right decision. And it's different on different days. Twice I've attempted Windermere. The first time was only 4 months out of chemotherapy and I managed 6 hours and I was bitterly cold when I got out. Absolutely bitterly cold. My stroke rate had dropped to 30 a minute and I knew I wasn't going to get to the other end. If they'd said I had a mile to go, then I would have done it somehow or other. But I didn't have it in me. I came back the following year and I did it, and my stroke rate was 50 the whole time, the whole 11 miles. I didn't falter. So your mental gremlins halfway through are very important, and there's all sorts of coping mechanisms. One of the ones I've recently been found is the alphabet, and I now recite the alphabet starting at A with vegetables. So I have to think of a vegetable that begins with every single letter till I get to Z. And then when I've done that one, I then start again with the alphabet, starting with fruit. And then I go to animals. And then I start again. By which point an hour's passed and it's actually time for your next feed. So you take your little hit of caffeine or whatever you've got in your feed, and the mental gremlin disappears, and off you go again with a bit of renewed vigour. And then once you realise maybe you've done 5 or 6 feeds, and you kind of think, well, actually I'm probably not far off the end now, and actually I'm going to complete this that I set out to do. And although you're tired when you get out the other end, and there's a sense of elation of having completed whatever it is, to me, I've never been dragged out the water unconscious. I've never had to crawl out the water unable to stand. So physically, that tells me I've got a lot more in the tank than I think I've got. So it's your head that plays with your issues. And one of my channel trainers said to me, long distance endurance swimming is 80% mental and 20% physical. And every time I'm thinking about getting out or giving up or whatever, I think about that and just think, you know what, just keep those arms turning, you keep them arms turning, you'll get there. And you get over that glitch and move on. Open water swimming has absolutely revolutionised my latter adulthood in a variety of ways. I'm not, and never have been, a land-based athlete. I am the wrong shape. I'm fat, I'm overweight. I don't smoke and I don't drink, but I'm fat and I'm overweight. I will never ever be a land athlete. I'm not built for it, never have been. Swimming for me has always been my way of doing exercise. And we all have hang-ups about what we look like. You know, that's just part of life. They're natural insecurities. But you know, putting a swimming costume on and standing there in the outside with a non-perfect body, but then whose idea of perfect is perfect, people don't care. So just get out there, just go find a group, find a friend, ask somebody, and just come and just get in, and nobody will dish you for what you look like, what you've turned up in. It's very, very supportive. People will help you, people will give you lots of advice. People will advise you how to try things safely within your capabilities. It's not there to frighten you, it's not there to put you off. It's, you know, we're all there to help and encourage, and it's one step at a time. And it might not, open water swimming might not be for you, but it might be. Who knows? If you don't give it a go, you won't know.